In the early days of generative AI, we were told that AI was going to take over all forms of work, of human productivity, that there weren't really going to be jobs for people anymore. Um, and that didn't exactly happen. Now we've sort of shifted to AI agents and AI agents being kind of a drop in replacement for people. Um, but I'm going to take a look at why that's not really going to happen the way that people might be talking about it and what it really takes to get to automation. So, welcome to the Talk to Me PDD podcast. I'm your host, PDD, where we talk about all things knowledge work, artificial intelligence, tech, leadership, management, and whatever's top of mind for me. So, today is episode number 39, and we're going to talk about how AI automation isn't for free. So, somehow with the sort of marketing and selling of AI agents, there was this idea that you would just take AI agents, drop them into a particular role or profession, and they would maybe not know how to do it initially, but just kind of learn and figure it out. But that's not really the case today, and I'll do a deep dive into AI agents and learning and some of the, I think, misconceptions there. But it doesn't really happen. So in some cases you can sort of do that, and then you get this idea that one of the books behind me, Power in Progress, talks about this idea of so-so automation, where it's sort of doing what you want and sort of replacing the people that were doing that job, but it's not really a great experience. So if you've seen people try and do that, or maybe you've tried to do it yourself and just kind of thrown an AI system or an AI agent in to do a job, and it's kind of done it, but not really. That's what so-so automation is. So that's not really what we're looking for. That's not the promise of generative AI and AI and automation systems in general. Um, then there's, I think, a myth that's been perpetuated around proponents of super intelligence or artificial general intelligence, that AI systems are just going to become sort of self-learning systems and have this intelligence explosion, and that's cascaded down into the world of automation. And maybe that'll happen, but we're not really there yet in most AI agents and automation systems that people are setting up. Um, so if you do put AI automation or agents in place, and you want them to learn and to get better, there's a fair amount of tuning that you have to do as a human, manually looking at how the system's performing, making adjustments in different places, even providing, what is success, what is good, what is bad. And that's often primarily human feedback and human adjustments. So you're not just getting it for free. One of the things about large language models that are kind of behind generative AI is that they are probabilistic systems, and they're trained on the entire internet plus more information. So the range of possibilities of output that they can have if you just take a system in with no constraints is incredibly wide. And usually, when you're trying to do automation of a job or a task or that sort of thing, you don't want the possible world of outputs to be possible. You want to constrain it to very specific things, and that's not going to happen unless you do some work to do that. So I think what's more reasonable with AI agents and AI automation is going into automating specific workflows. So by a workflow, I mean you have a set of tasks that you go through, and the process is repeatable. The output may not be exactly the same every time, but it's the same process. And this could be in a organizational use case, or it could be in a personal productivity use case. Maybe something you need to do in your personal life that is a series of steps that's repeatable. So being able to take that process, that workflow, break it down into discrete steps, and then have that understanding of what is supposed to happen at that individual step. Um, Now, once you've done that, you've taken a particular workflow process, mapped it out into individual steps. This is where you can really put AI agents or AI to work, because within those particular steps, you can provide a lot of very specific context, which is going to constrain the world of output that could be in the probability range to something much smaller. And then you can iterate on that and make it better and improve it and make sure that it's always producing the type of output that you want. That's where I've seen people be very successful, both in organizational automation or in personal productivity workflow automation. Um, so now there can still be and will still be some job disruption doing this if you have a workforce that a lot of what they're doing is executing sequential or pre-mapped out workflows the whole time, and you replace that with automation, yeah, it's going to disrupt that. But it's not the same thing as just dropping in AI agents that can figure out everybody's job, and you can just lay off your entire workforce and run as a company of one with an army of AI agents. Not quite there yet, which I know some people are probably disappointed about. Most of us probably not. Um, so automation isn't new. It's been around for a long time. I've actually, I've been a fan of it, and I think there's so many opportunities that we could take advantage of with automation that we haven't yet. And that's one of the things that I think is really exciting about generative AI is it's bringing this focus back to automation, and we'll take a look at why some of these things haven't happened yet and what are some opportunities now that AI and AI agents are more in the forefront. There's a quote that I really like about AI agents, and this is from Morten Rand Hendrickson, who's a LinkedIn trainer, and he says in one of his courses that agents are more about automation than AI, which is kind of funny because you have AI in the name of AI agents. Um, but thinking about how AI agents are really enabling those traditional workflows, and some of that, the AI piece, is going to be the natural language understanding, using models to kind of talk in a conversational way. But a lot of it may be more discrete, traditional programming or various workflow automation tools like Power Automate or things like that, where you're mapping out specific steps that are going to happen and not entirely relying on artificial intelligence or generative AI to do everything. And there's a good reason for that because when you want to have a constrained output, it's more work to do it with a Gen AI system than to just write code that does it if you know what you want to do. Um, so um, I think that's what we're going to see, and that's what I'm excited about. This combination of generative AI making it easy to interact in natural language, potentially in other modalities like voice and so on, and then integrating that with more traditional automation design so we get predictable behavior. Um, so why haven't we seen more of this already, right? A lot of this automation we could do without natural language. Yes, maybe it's a little bit more clunky or takes more work, but there's still the same opportunity for efficiency, for cost savings, for being able to do more, offer more services, that sort of thing. Um, so process definition is not always there. It takes some work. Processes may morph and change over time, and you need to keep them updated. So that's some additional overhead that if you're not already automating things or getting the benefits from that, then maybe you're not making those investments to document your processes as well as they need to be, or to keep them updated as things change. Um, it's really important that you have clean data to drive these processes, whether it's knowledge or it's templates that's defining what's supposed to happen in these workflows. And in the past, that's not always been an area of investment to keep those up to date, to keep them current, to keep them organized, to make sure that they accurately reflect the current state of affairs. If you have, let's say you're supporting software and there's different iterations of that software, how do you make sure to differentiate what applies to one generation and another? So there's a lot of work there and a lot of overhead to do that, to organize information, knowledge retrieval, things like that. And that's an area that in the past has been easy for organizations or individuals to skimp out on. And then you can make up for that with human intelligence because humans can interpret in a much more dynamic way, understand the current situation, and compensate for some of that lack of detail in knowledge. But if you're going to go to automation, you need that context to be accurate. There's also sometimes issues with access to data. Organizations and individuals are rightly concerned about security, data privacy, PII protection, things like that. So that's swung the balance much more in favor of sort of locking systems down as when they might have been more open in the past, which is good. But then figuring out how to navigate those two, how to protect data, how to be secure, but also allow builders within an organization to create automation and use that. And I think that to me, that's exciting about the emergence of AI is that we're taking a second look at these decisions and we went really far to lock things down, but I think in some ways that's limited the efficiencies and the ways that we can leverage that data for good and to drive, business success and to offer, more features than we had in the past, and to take some work that, quite frankly is repeatable and not all that rewarding for many people, and to automate it. And again, there will be changes with that, and that's sort of the nature of technology and business as it evolves. But doing that in a structured way for specific tasks is a different thing than just replacing everybody with AI that's just going to figure it out and do the work on its own. Um, so now, once you've gotten all these things in order, all these prerequisites, it's still not automatic that you just get automation for free. You need people who understand the tools of how to build automation systems. Those same people or similar type of skill set need to maintain that, right? As things change over time, they're going to need the understanding of how things work and to keep organized process around that. It's a whole other sort of IT infrastructure. Um, you're going to have to pay for any costs for using AI services or other hosting services to run this automation, storage, that sort of thing. Um, you're going to need some business KPIs to keep track of what your automation is doing. Is it successful for what your business wants? Are you monitoring it to see if it's having issues, if it's falling off? You need to build a whole operational practice around the automated part of your business to make sure that it meshes with the human part. And if you haven't done that before, that's going to be some additional overhead, additional investment, um, figuring out how that impacts how you staff and how you do all sorts of other things. So it's not free by any sense of the imagination. It can be extremely powerful, but it's a trade off, and you're going to have to decide whether it's personal productivity or in business, if that's the right trade off for you. If the scale and repeatability or availability of an automation system outweighs the cost of building it and maintaining it, structuring that knowledge, and all of that. So I hope that gives you a little more insight. AI automation and automation, AI agents, all of that. There's so much possibility there, but it's not for free. It doesn't just drop in and replace people. It takes additional skill sets and infrastructure to run effectively. So it's good to clarify sort of what's the marketing myth and what's the reality and what are the possibilities. So good luck with your agents and your automation, and I hope you found this helpful.